I make more space as I find space, as I notice space, as I lean into and create the space that is there. Everything gets bigger. So I would have told you that I didn't lose myself in motherhood at all. Like, I kept feeling pretty good about my work. Like, as I've told you through this course, I had some like beliefs and things that had to be like reconciled, things about like motherhood and like money that I had to like sort through. Like, stuff came up, but I would tell you that I didn't lose myself, that I was pretty much me the entire time. And the other day I was working and I was doing social media stuff and I was like doing stories and I like had a good idea for something and I like my brain said like, I'm back. And I was like I felt like old me do something like from a place I would used to do it from. There's like an I'm back moment. And I was like, I'm back. I thought I never left. So maybe I'm only 1 year in. So maybe 1 year in, I don't have a full grasp of like, I didn't feel like I had an identity crisis. I didn't feel like I lost myself. I felt like I had myself and my self-care and my family and my work and my baby the whole time. And the balance of it all, as you've heard me say, of like, when do I want childcare and when do I want work and how am I going to do my schedule? Like, I've been figuring that out all the while, but I pretty much felt like me. But having a moment where I really, really felt like me, and me that I maybe didn't even know I hadn't felt like, was really like So maybe like parts of me took a backseat position, but they're still available to me. And maybe they come out as they need to, as they have space, as I kind of have like a grasp on my new life, if that makes sense. So I think I've kind of trusted my desires, let myself evolve, and we'll see which parts of me that haven't been predominant in me show up at different times. Like how I've said it to myself from time to time, I don't know if I've said these words to you guys, is like I felt like the money queen pretty much all the fucking time. Like probably like 99% of the time I was like money queen vibes. I really had embodied like the brand and the archetype or whatever. It really was like who I thought I was. And then this money mama thing was a whole different thing where like she makes money and she's a boss and she runs shit, but like she has all these humans. It was a full different thing. So it feels like I am the money mama, but like money queen shows up and like makes some decisions and gets some stuff done sometimes or whatever. Like they both exist. But money mama has to run the show a lot of the time right now. Does that make sense? When I slow down, so does time. Now, I like to move fast. I like to move fast and I like to get a lot done. But I have been in the illusion that the faster I move, the more I get done. And I don't think it's true. When I find space in the moments of whatever I have to do, space to be present, space to check in with myself, space to see how I feel, and space to slow down, there is more room. I make more space as I find space, as I notice space, as I lean into and create the space that is there. Everything gets bigger. I know these sentences are weird, but you feel like the energy, you get the concept, right? So in my illusion of like, just go fast and just get everything done, I was always rushed. I was always frantic. I was always overwhelmed. And that's like the opposite of presence, right? That's like the opposite of being where you're at and experiencing what you're doing. And in the rush, we don't feel very good and we feel stressed. But in the rush, we also, or I at least, would like need to find moments to check out. So I'm like rushed and I have no time and now I have a minute, let me just scroll through my phone. And then in scrolling through your phone, do you feel better? Are you getting things done? Are you being present with yourself? Or are you just like mindlessly checking out, which isn't a bad thing, but is it wasted time? If my time is a resource that I'm here to use well and I'm here to expand, what is wasting it or using it in ways that aren't the most helpful to me? When we need something and we need it and we need it now, we put a lot of pressure around it. And when there's pressure around it and we need it now, it's kind of like a wall of resistance, which is so much different than when we want something, we desire something, we believe it's possible, and we know it's happening. It's like there's this open, expansive vibe over here when that's the space. And when you need it, it's harder. The problem with that, and this is the trick, the problem is when you actually need something, like you need it, getting yourself into a space of more lightheartedly desiring it. And when it's an actual need, that is obviously rough. Which is why like Maslow's whole hierarchy of needs is like we can't focus on like the fun stuff when we are worried about the basic needs of like the real stuff, right? But if you can get yourself to think about the thing that you're needing from a place of it's possible and it's easy and it's coming, and I take the pressure off, and I know I am fine, and I know I will not die, and I know it'll come through more desire-based and less need-based, that is a easier pace to not just manifest and call something in from, but to think creatively from, to find your solution. Does that make sense? I have noticed this about you, and I'm so inspired and fascinated by it because I have a very hard time doing it myself. You appear to have zero guilt about motherhood, about money, about working, about saying no, etc. Do I have zero guilt? Here's what I know. I know that guilt is not helpful. Guilt for me is not useful. Guilt is helpful like this much if it helps us to go like, oh, I don't like how I showed up. I don't like that I ripped the iPad out of your hand. I don't like how I showed up. Guilt can be helpful to that much. And then my choice is to change how I'm doing things and pick a new path. Ruminating in that guilt and rolling around in it and thinking about how awful I am or whatever, it then turns to shame. And shame is an awful, awful motivator for change. It doesn't work, right? So I experience remorse, I guess, guilt, but I don't stay with it very long because it doesn't fucking matter. Because there's always a new day. There's always a new moment. There's always opportunities to try again. And I'm very oriented in moving forward, always.